Okay, we're live now, and welcome to Attract Your Ideal Weight show, live on Google Hangouts. My name is Zaheen. I'm your host, Zaheen Nanji, and I'm the author of Attract Your Ideal Weight, 8 Secrets of People Who Lose Weight and Keep It Off, and it's all based on behavior weight loss. Well, as of today, episode number 4, and by the way, if you've missed the last 3 episodes, please go on attractyouриdealweight.com, and on the left side of the screen you will see a menu which will tell you that we have had other Google Hangout episodes. You want to click on that and view the other 3. However, I'm so excited that from today on we will have 2 guests who know what they're talking about, and they will be joining me every month. So remember this, the last Sunday of every month at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 2 p.m. Mountain. They will be joining me, and we will be helping you attract your ideal weight. And I will let them introduce themselves, but first let me tell you what we're going to be giving you in the next 3 episodes that are coming up. So today we're just going to get to know Renee and Miriam, and you will listen to their story. You will understand that they have been there too. And make sure that you go on their website. Make sure you connect with them on Twitter and on Facebook and on Google. Make sure you do that because they have so much knowledge on attracting your ideal weight. So let me just tell you what we are looking to do in the next episodes. So episode number 5, we are going to talk about weight loss, image, beliefs around weight loss, because it's huge, all right? Episode number 6, we're going to talk about conflict and self-sabotage. You know, so many clients come to me, and I'm sure they come to Renee and Miriam as well, and say, you know what, I get on it, I want to eat healthy, and I start exercising, and 2 months down the road, I don't know what it is, I self-sabotage. Well, we're going to help you with that. And episode number 7, which is close to holiday time, we are going to give you some holiday tips that will help you while you are on that journey. Okay, so without further ado, because the time flies so quick when I do these, I want to introduce Renee Stephens to you. And so, Renee, tell us about yourself. I know you're author of an amazing book. You yourself have gone through a journey of weight loss. Tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you, Zaheen, and thank you so much for inviting me on here to be on the Google Hangout. Shall I just tell a little bit about my background and how I got interested in weight issues?
Yes, please.
So my story began way back when I was maybe 11 years old, 12 years old in middle school, and I went on my first diet because I thought that what women did, it was natural for me to hate my body, even though I wasn't overweight at the time. And really, it was that first restricted diet that caused me to start thinking extra about food. And pretty soon, I gained more weight. Then I felt I needed another diet. Then a few years later than that, I started binge eating. And the next thing you know, I'm up and down the scale, crazy diets, eating in a really obsessive compulsive way. I had eaten from the trash can. I have eaten frozen food that's not supposed to be that's not meant to be eaten frozen. I've done all sorts of insane things. And I think that the worst part for me, when I look at my experience and the experience of all the people that I work with, is how much of my headspace was consumed by thinking about, how do I look? What will I eat? What did I eat? What should I eat? Oh my God, will my jeans fit today? How am I going to look this time? This obsession about it. And with every attempt that ultimately failed, because it was a restrictive diet at the end of the day, the worst part was I would erode my confidence in my own ability to create change and to create the kind of life that I wanted to live. So it was really a terrible time. And I eventually found my way into Overeaters Anonymous, which is a 12-step program that was helpful to me in terms of, I would call it, maybe the dry drunk syndrome, controlling my issues around food. It did help me understand that there were reasons that I was overeating, that my behavior was driven by some really deep and painful beliefs that I held about myself, feelings of unworthiness, that kind of thing. And still, though, I was weird around food, and I stayed that way, very controlled, very uptight, able to binge on a bag of rice cakes, which, if you ask me, takes a huge amount of dedication because they taste like cardboard. But that, leave it to me, I did it. And it wasn't until later, about 12 years ago now, that I had a career and a health crisis that caused me to, I got chronic fatigue syndrome for the second time as an adult. I had to take time off of work. I was unable to work doing my old job in marketing and high tech. And really, I learned through my healing process that my body was speaking to me. Mm-hmm. It said, your life is turned around the wrong way. It's turned upside down. It's turned inside out. And we're not going to let you carry on the way you've been doing. Just stop. Mm-hmm. And so I did. And I eventually said, well, what else do I do? This is where all my identity was from. This is everything I was. And I thought, you know what? I've always been fascinated by human motivation, by what makes us do what we do. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, I'm just going to study something, and hopefully I'll figure it out as I go. And I got into my first training. At that time, it was my first training in neurolinguistic programming. Partway through the training, I had an epiphany. I started using the techniques I was learning to address my own weirdness around food, my own obsession, my own preoccupation, and my issues started melting away. Mm. And pretty soon other students were asking me to help them. And I had this epiphany. I thought, I have found my life's work. This is it. I just so clear. And again, that was 12 years ago, and I have been doing this ever since.
Wow.
So that's really the journey that I've been on. I have synthesized now tools from a number of techniques to really address the pain, the struggle that so many, especially women, suffer from, but men do as well, to change the why. This is something I've heard you talk about, Zaheen. Change the why behind their behavior so they can change their behavior and create lasting weight loss. I have a book, Fulfilled, the 6-week weight loss plan for changing your relationship with food and your life from the inside out. I have a podcast on iTunes. It's been the #1 weight loss podcast on iTunes since its inception in 2007. Probably 4 or 5 million downloads to date. So, I just adore what I'm doing. I love nothing more than helping other people end their weight struggle and wake up to the rest of their lives.
Thank you so much, Renee. That's an amazing story. And I know of so many people that have gone through the same thing, but I think there are very few, though, who have actually gone through their why and figured it out like the way you have, and now you're helping others do that. And that's so important. Mm. So I'd like to switch now to Miriam. Hi, Miriam.
Hi.
Okay, so Maryam Webster too is and has gone through a journey. And so Miriam, why don't you take it away and explain to us how it started and where you are now?
Sure. Thank you. And thank you for having me on, Zaheen. I'm I feel so privileged to be here because, like Renee, this has become my life's work too, particularly for women in midlife who find, they've come here and are just absolutely stymied by being able to change their body or their life circumstances, and it all kind of rolls up in a ball. Anyway, it started when I was living in England with my first husband in the late 80s. I was hit by a drunk driver, and it broke my back, and I ended up being a paraplegic out of that. Was bedridden for several years. The doctors told me I would never get my mobility back. I would never walk again, so I promptly showed them that I could, although it did take me 9 years to be really, truly mobile. But I run, walk, dance, do whatever anyone else can do nowadays. And that the end result was I had gained up to, we know the last measurement was 335 pounds, and then I refused to be weighed after that because it was used as weight is so often used in women's lives to shame and humiliate. So I have that kind of benchmark at 335, and it was probably more. But going from there, I've lost about 120 of that right now. I have some to go. And I found that what women enjoy about working with me is they're like, you're not a size 2, and you're actually out here advocating for this. And that's great. I don't feel intimidated by you. So I was kind of like, should I do this work being that I still have some to go? And it's like, nope, I still have gifts to share. And like Renee, I became involved in neurolinguistic programming. Prior to that, I was involved in energy work like emotional freedom techniques or EFT, and I've developed techniques myself, again, like Renee. I think we all do, and whatever the mash together is of the perfect stuff to work, busting the beliefs is huge. It's absolutely paramount. And for myself, I know that it was the tearing down of the beliefs that I was given as a child by my mother and grandmother. If you don't, have in my grandmother's era, there were corsets, the last of the corsets, but still, she would boast that her husband, my grandfather, could span her waist with his 2 hands put together. And that was like something I didn't, we could never aspire to. Nobody's going to wear that kind of corset today unless you're in that kind of fashion industry. But it was pounded into my head that if you didn't have a small waist, you weren't womanly. So there's a whole bunch of beliefs tied up in that, right? And again, that's the bulk of the work I do with my clients, is paring back those beliefs and finding out, okay, who's the me, the real me under all this stuff? And what do I really want to be? They want to have a little meat on them, and they're very happy at a size 16.
Yeah.
Others won't rest until they're a size 9 or a size 5 or whatever it is. And that's individual. And I think one of the things we need to do as we work with our own bodies is to respect whatever need is within us, no matter what your family or society or your significant other says. It really is the business of the person here.
Yes. Thank you so much, Miriam. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because this is what Attract Your Ideal Weight is all about, that we want to help people realize that you want to be comfortable in the way you feel. And it's not about the number on the scale, right? It's about how you feel as an individual. I mean, I certainly am not a size 4 or a size 2, right? But there was a time, just like you, or just like anyone else out there, that I really wanted to be. And I thought, no, I want to be comfortable in what I am, and that doesn't mean that I have to have a skinny waist. And yeah, it just has to be where I feel comfortable, where I am. So I know
something
yes.
about scales, just very briefly. So the scale is something that is used to humiliate as we grow up, and if we don't adhere to a certain number. And a lot of women, in their quest for the right body for them, throw the scale away. And I'm 100% behind that. However, I brought the scale back into my life, and I brought it back because I have a scale that measures bone density, how many pounds of bone are in my body, and how many pounds of water are in my body, and how much of the percentage of the rest of the mass is fat. That is actually useful to know, rather than a number like I must weigh 120 or whatever. I want to go from X% of fat that I am now to Y% of fat over here, and then look at that number over time. That's a much better use of a scale, and if you can quite commonly get these scales for under $50. They're quite inexpensive and very helpful as benchmarks, but only as benchmarks. And you're not competing against anybody, just the numbers that you have on in your life.
Right. And so, Renee, how do you feel about the scale? How do you use that?
I agree with Miriam in that the scale can be we use it for judgment. And I talk about the use of the scale, or some clients really feel a desire. They can't resist getting on the scale. And I call that a craving for judgment. They want to be judged by the scale. And it's not that you would think we want to be judged so that we can be successful. Absolutely. But we get caught in this game of, okay, well, let me see what the number is. And my mood for the whole day is going to depend on what that number tells me about my body. So for most people who feel a craving to weigh, who feel that they have a craving for that kind of judgment, I suggest getting rid of the scale for a while, as Miriam did, as I did, so that you can really start to tune into your body. Because for me, the nature of being naturally slender, of re-becoming naturally slender, which is every person's birth state and birthright. We can all do it, no matter what your struggle has been, in my opinion. We have to tune back into our bodies. And so by letting go of the scale and all of the judgment and the drama that entails, I find it's much better than you can say, okay, well, how do I feel in my body? How is my movement? How am I hungry? Am I full? How do my clothes feel on me? And that's the kind of relationship that I want to cultivate in my clients, so that you can now run without the need of those external metrics. I'm also not a big fan of food diaries, for example. Food diaries, there's research to show that they're effective on one level, but they're like being the self-police. And who can keep up a food diary forever? You can't. I recommend another technique, which is a hunger diary, so that you are, instead of policing yourself, holding yourself accountable, you are actually using this diary to record your levels of hunger and satiety. This also is bringing you back in tune with your body, so that you can notice your own body's signals. It's like your own body's gas tank. You have a gas gauge on your car. You can measure your own hunger and satiety in your body. And a tool for that, I would say, is the hunger diary.
And I agree with you, Renee, because that too is in also my book, Attract Your Ideal Weight, as well, where I say, you know what, learn how to figure out, whether you're hungry or not, and only eat when you're hungry. And a lot of clients will say, but how do I know when I'm hungry? And so I'm sure, like, we have some signs and symptoms that we can go through. And so, like, some of them could be that you have low sugar, or you feel kind of low energy. I know for myself, my stomach starts to make noise and I'm like, it kind of feels empty, and I go, I think it's time to eat. And that's the only time that you want to eat, is when you're hungry. So Miriam, tell me, how did you start to decide that, you know what, I want to feel good and I want to get to where I am comfortable? When was that time for you?
I have a tool, by the way, I want to share. Keep the Camelback. It's an adult sippy cup. Whoops, there. See that?
Yes.
Camelback. This is a 20-ounce Camelback. I fill that thing up, get to bed with me. I drink during the night if I get up. But I keep that on the just constantly full and constantly drinking. Half of the hunger pangs we think we feel are thirst. And Americans in particular, people in the West, are chronically dehydrated. So this is one of the first things to do. If you get a hunger pang, drink. If you're still hungry after that, then and only then eat. So that's one real simple way to defeat that, kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I forgot what your question was. Say it again, Shaheen.
No, I was just asking, when did you realize that now's the time for me? When was that time for you?
Oh, that's very simple. When my mother died. So it was the end of the 90s, and my father had died, and my mother had just died, and I had been wanting to divorce. I was married to an alcoholic, and I wanted to divorce for ages, and I had just gotten my mobility back to a place where I could live on my own, reasonably speaking. And we, went through my mother's funeral, and I was like, this is it. This is my time, and I'm making this jump. I'm doing it for me. And I'm also investing, and began to invest a huge amount in my self-care, which I had denied myself prior to that. I lived with a man that was very into being frugal, and spending on a massage was just an extravagant waste as far as he was concerned. So for me, there are several I can't do without things. There's massage, there was chiropractic back in the day, physical therapy, ton of. Now that I'm much more well, it's I have a physical trainer. I have a physical trainer in twice a week in my home, and then I go out twice a week, and that trainer is excellent massage therapist too, and he works my knots out. So I'm getting trained 4 times a week, and doing all the, and I wouldn't have done that had I not just successively. It was one time but that when my mother died in 99, that was the big one. But just successively, I realized, you know what, I need to up my game. I need to up my game. I'm doing great, and I can do better. So it's a constant realization.
Okay. So, Renee, tell me an example of a client that you worked with, or hundreds of clients I'm sure that you've worked with, but if you can pick one where you thought that the person that you were helping started off feeling kind of like, oh, I don't know if this is working, but then it started to work for them. How did your method help them?
That's a great question, Zaheen, because when you really address the underlying why behind the eating behaviors, it's not fast weight loss. And I say that as clearly as I can on my website and all my materials, that if you're looking for fast weight loss, this is not the solution. But on the other hand, if you're looking to end the struggle so that you can become and live as a naturally slender person, then come here. And that is not, it's not the fastest method. You're going to be doing foundation work. And that foundation work is all about learning to love and care for you so that you become someone that you want to take care of. Let me give you a story. This is from someone who listened to my podcast, and I actually interviewed her for my dissertation research for my doctorate. And she was a single mother, and she was diabetic, type 2 diabetes, and she was on medication for her diabetes. She goes in to see her doctor, and by the way, she had never been on a diet. She refused to go on a diet because her mother was always overweight, had always been dieting, and as she'd seen, she was smart. She said, you know, it never worked for my mom. Why am I going to torture myself by restricting only to have it fail in the end? So she had no hope. She was diabetic, using medication, okay, I can get by, until she goes to this doctor's visit accompanied by her, I think her daughter was 12 at the time. And the doctor says, your medication is no longer working. Your blood sugar is out of control, and I'm afraid for your life. And the doctor says, I recommend bariatric surgery, you know, stomach shrinking surgery. And she said, I can't do that. And she's shocked. They walk out of the doctor's office, and her daughter, her 12-year-old daughter, starts crying. Because if you have a single mother, that's all you got. She's everything to you. And the mother said, and the daughter said, you know, what can we do to make you better, Mommy? And she thought, this is wrong. My daughter can't be trying to do this. I have to figure this out. So she started listening to my podcast, Inside Out Weight Loss, and said, even though I don't think I can diet, maybe I can just listen to this and start to change the way I feel about myself. So she starts listening. The next thing she says, you know, maybe if I just start moving a little bit. She starts going on walks. Now she does stand-up paddle boarding and tough mudder races with her daughter, all sorts of stuff. She's kept off 70 pounds it's over 3 years now that she's done it. Completely changed her life, got rid of their TV. The daughter without the TV got into music. Now she plays in a band and music is her life. You know, complete turnaround. And for her, I've identified 3 core beliefs through my research that can get in the way of weight loss. And she had the first one, which is a belief that I'm not capable. She didn't believe that she was capable of losing weight. And it was the necessity, the life or death call from her doctor that told her, okay, I've got to figure this out. I need a different approach. So feeling that she was capable was the first change that she made. The next approach, next belief change she did was believing that she is worth taking care of, because she got the message by being abandoned by her own father when she was little that she wasn't worth anything. She thought, he left me, I must not be very good. She didn't think she was worth taking care of. And for her, changing those two beliefs, feeling capable of losing weight and being worthy of wonderful self-care, enabled her to change her behaviors, to start exercising, to start eating healthy foods, and to lose that weight, reverse her diabetes, and save her own life.
Yes. That's an amazing story, Renee, and I wish that more and more people would be able to understand that this is why it's so important to understand the beliefs behind our weight struggles. And all of us, and I'm sure that the viewers can see the pictures that I've put for all three of us, the before and after, and that we have gone through this as well, and we completely understand. We've had our own belief systems. I know that with me, my family is all overweight. I'm the smallest, but I felt that I had to fit in, so I kind of wanted to eat what I want, just so that I could fit in. I didn't want to be different. That was my belief. But there were so many more underneath that, because it's just like an onion, right? When you start to peel that, you find more and more beliefs. But we have to deal with them. So we only have 3 minutes left, and see how fast it passes. There's so much to share with you. But I'm sure that Renee and Miriam will join us next episode number 5, where we'll be talking about beliefs around weight loss, and we will take any questions. We do take questions, so please join us the last Sunday of every month. And the next one will be September 28th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And take down any information for Renee, for Miriam. Go on their websites, which you just saw, and ask them questions, and we can bring that up on our Google Hangout show here, Attract Your Ideal Weight. Now, Renee, I mean Miriam, I just wanted to ask you to show your book and let people know about your website.
I don't know. Is it coming up? Can you see it?
No, it's got kind of light flashing on it, but I think it's on your logo, right? If you can just read the title for us.
It's Women, Everyday Bliss for Busy Women, and it highlights the energy tools, the energy therapy tools, many of which I used to get my own act together. But so much has happened since I wrote this book, and I've also developed a tool of my own, the Ethos Method, that works simpler than any of it. So, and that's at the Ethos Method, ethosmethod.com.
Okay.
Absolutely free to the public.
Oh, okay. And they can connect with you on your website?
At everywomanchanges.com.
Yeah. .com, that's right.
Everywomanchanges.com.
Okay. And Renee, if you want to hold up your book as well, and let people know where to find you.
All right. It's fulfilled, and they can find me at reneemethod.com, reneemethod.com.
Okay. And you were also mentioning the podcast that you do. Can you tell us the name of the podcast and where they can find it?
Yes. Thanks, Zaheen. It's Inside Out Weight Loss, and it's available on iTunes. It's also available at insideoutweightloss.com/podcasts. I know we've got an archive there, a tremendous archive, and anyone who visits that website can download a free workbook that is a transcription of the podcast with all of the exercises in it over at insideoutweightloss.com/podcast.
Perfect. Okay, so there you heard it. This was just the beginning of Attract Your Ideal Weight show, where you only got to meet Renee and Miriam, and you heard their stories, and you also heard the way that they help clients. And please join us next time. And you can also, if you like this and you want to watch it again, or you want to watch the last 3 episodes, then I encourage you to go to attractyouridealweight.com, look on the left-hand side of the menu, and you'll see Google Hangout episodes. Click on that and watch the other 3. Next time we meet, we'll talk about beliefs, your why, and we will help you attract your ideal weight. I'm your host, Zaheen Nanji, author of Attract Your Ideal Weight, 8 Secrets of People Who've Lost Weight and Kept It Off. Thank you so much for watching. Bye now.
Bye-bye.